Hello, welcome to my PowerPoint presentation of this thing that I've been wanting to make for quite not that long, but also some kind of long. Not really. I mean, like for like 2 to 3 months, I've been wanting to make this idea, or like I wanted to put this idea out. And Chapter 5 isn't out yet, so I can do it before the chapter's out. So, okay, well, first of all, this theory is called, I don't know, Kris Lord of Dark theory, or yeah, Kris Lord of Dark Weird Out theory. But this is a weird out theory, obviously, and it's about Kris, and it's about connecting to a character, which I will talk about in a second. You can see LiveALive, that thing at the bottom right. Actually, my character might be covering it, but that's where this brown character is from. Oh yes, this presentation is made by this idiot you're watching right now. Oh, very beautiful. Okay, so some context for what this character is. Actually, okay, this character here, this brown character, is called Orsted. I think it should be in the title. Oh, beautiful! It's so good. You have to go see it again. So this context is very needed. Okay, so this character Orsted is from this game called LiveALive, which is a JRPG, and Toby Fox, he had an interview about this game LiveALive, and he spoke about a lot of things, but there was this one particular part, and I think this interview is like from a few years ago. So, and some people have talked about this, but I don't think enough, really. It's not, I mean, especially, I haven't really seen people make a video about what I'm talking about here. Not like the theory I'm going to propose. So I'm just saying a video about Kris and Orsted, just slap them together in a video. No, I have not seen that. You don't see that. So here I am making one. So if you don't want to, I mean, just read this box here, this white box. It says a lot of interesting things, but basically, the character Kris is inspired by the character Orsted. Orsted came first, obviously, and which means Kris came after. I don't know what's the point of saying that, but Kris came after, and they are inspired by the character Orsted. More on them later. I would need to explain what Orsted is. Just give it a second. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so what is this theory about? What am I even gonna be talking about later? So, note, this is not a normal route theory. This is strictly for the weird route. So, don't think this is something that equates to both routes or something like that. No, this is something entirely different. This connects the story of Orsted to Kris in the weird route. So what happens to Orsted in the weird route? What happens to Orsted in the game LiveALive? I'm gonna try to connect it and map out something with what could happen to Kris in the weird route. And this title, Lord of Dark, which is in the name of the theory, is relevant. It's very relevant for this theory. Well, pretty relatively. More on that later. But understand it's about Orsted, and I'll connect it to Kris. Very, very nice, very nice. Okay, who's Orsted? I'm gonna be talking for a bit here. So, this guy you see, main character of the game LiveALive, which I will link in the description. It's a really good game. I really enjoyed it, especially the part where. Well, especially the part that Orsted actually comes in to be a character. Which is to say that, yes, the game has multiple main characters, but that's besides the point. So, this guy Orsted, he's a knight who is in a traditional fantasy setting, and there's gonna be some things that aren't important, but I'm gonna just talk about it because it's not like I'm gonna explain it later. He fights someone. He fights like a friend, like a mage who's his friend, and they fight so that they can earn being king, or so they can marry the princess, so that they can become king later. So Orsted wins, and the princess, quote unquote, falls in love with Orsted, and later the princess gets kidnapped by a monster. This monster is the Lord of Dark, which is, I mean, if I had to explain it in other terms, imagine a traditional fantasy game and the main antagonist is a dragon. That's basically this Lord of Dark is the antagonist of the game. They're the main villain. They are the dragon who steals the princess and takes them far away to a mountain. So this Lord of Dark, Orsted has to go slay the monster, which is the Lord of Dark, and but he can't do it alone. So on the way, he recruits friends so that when they journey to the mountain, they can take on the big bad guy. And there's it's 4 party members. It's like three extra allies you get. I mean, it's not really relevant, but I mean kind of. But you can't. It's not like you can connect each of the 3 to a Deltarune character, except maybe 1, but maybe 2. But I don't know. It's not really important. So anyway, the mage guy, some old man and some old swordsman as well, joins Orsted, and they form a 4-man party to climb the mountain to slay the guy, to get the princess back. So once they get there, they fight the Lord of Dark. But after you beat it, you notice that the fight is very easy. It didn't last long at all. So it gets revealed that you actually fought a fake. You didn't fight the real Lord of Dark, which, I mean, I don't know, this is kind of a stretch, but imagine this fight is like the Roaring Knight fight in Chapter 3. You know you're gonna fight them later, just like the Lord of Dark, because you know you fought a fake. You're gonna fight the real one later, just like you know that you'd fight the Knight later, likely be the final boss, with that being the rematch. And so you fall back. A couple party members die, actually. All 2 out of 3 of them die, not including Orsted. 2 out of 3 of them die. And then, I'm speaking from memory here, so excuse me. So what happens is they go back to the castle. They report to the king that they couldn't get the princess back, with a few party members dying. And then they go to sleep. But then when Orsted wakes up, he goes to the throne room and he envisions the Lord of Dark on the throne. So you have another fight with the Lord of Dark. You kill it. It's also very easy. And then it flashes to show that you killed the king. So the guards see this and they think that Orsted just murdered the king for no reason. And actually, the reason why Orsted saw the Lord of Dark instead of the king is because someone set him up. Someone used a spell on him so that he would be hallucinating the Lord of Dark on the king, so that Orsted would kill the king and be what happens now to be banished. So of course the night Orsted gets banished from the guards, from the whole kingdom. So you get kicked out, and then you go back to the mountain. Oh yeah, by the way, the sage is the one who set up the hallucination. You go to the mountain to go fight the Lord of Dark, and you do that, and you fight the real Lord of Dark. And then once you kill it, if you kill it, you can. Well, yeah, obviously you can. You kill him, and the princess gets upset because she fell in love with the Lord of Dark, who happened to be the sage as well. But okay, if that makes sense. So the sage was taken over by the Lord of Dark, or influenced. So, once you get to the mountaintop and fight the Lord of Dark, the sage is there, the friend from the start, and you kill him, and the princess cries and gets angry at you because she fell in love with him, which is weird. She fell in love with the dragon who basically kidnapped her. As if, you know, imagine if like Bowser kidnapped Peach and she fell in love with him and got mad that Mario saved her or killed Bowser permanently. So guess what? She kills herself. The princess kills herself out of anger and sadness. And I want you to understand, all of Orsted's friends are dead. All of them died, including the one guy who survived, and not including the sage. Actually, hold on. Oh no, the sage. Oh, sorry. Well, the sage was in the mountain with the 4 guys. The sage was set up that he died, quote unquote. He didn't actually. So, anyway. What happens next? So remember that he was banished from the kingdom, so he has nowhere to go. And after he killed the Lord of Dark, who ruined his life basically in a way, well, it did, because it's what got the princess lost, and it's what set him up to, you know, be exiled. And you know, his motivation was the princess, to save her, so that, you know, they can marry her and be the king, because that's what he's supposed to do. And once she kills herself, Orsted goes crazy. He snaps. He has a whole, I'd say, like, monologue about having nowhere to go, everything that he tried to be a good person, but everyone turned his back on him, calling him a demon. All he wanted to do was just to save the princess, but that all just backfired, even though that was really not his intention. It's like the world spat on him, and yeah, it's he starts just having this monologue, and then after all of that, okay, yeah, there's a throne for the Lord of Dark, by the way. The scene where you kill him, the mountaintop, has the throne of the Lord of Dark. So Orsted approaches the throne, and he declares himself as the Lord of Dark, or the new one. So he becomes the new Lord of Dark. He becomes the thing he tried to kill. And now he's evil, and he wants to basically destroy the world. He isn't directly in full control, actually, because he imagine the Lord of Dark is a influential spirit. Once a host dies, it still is there for someone else, you know, to be a new host. So it takes over the host and influences them to be like what it wanted, like what the Lord of Dark is, you know, destroy the world, kill, whatever, evil stuff. And well, like, I mean, this part isn't really important, but you know, you get the choice to kill everyone, or you know, play as the previous protagonists to go stop the guy, you know, the Lord of Dark, new one, which is Orsted. And yeah, I mean, I don't really need to talk about other things. That's really the main thing. So there we go. I imagine this was like 6 or 7 minutes. Okay, next slide. Cool art, by the way. Okay, sorry about that. I'll show them in a second, but sorry. So I want to point out some similarities between the characters. So first of all, both of them are knights, which I'm pretty sure you gathered in the second slide. Even you gathered that both of them look like knights. And this is something I only realized when I was playing the game, because, well, no one talks about this game really. No one talks about this game because, well, it's years old. This game is actually 10 years old, but it got a remake like a few years ago. And I realized while I was playing, Orsted has an X-slash move. And I want to show this off here. This is footage from when I played. Don't bother looking at the date. It's obviously, I didn't do this recently. This is when I first played. What do you think that is? That's an X. That's X slash. I play it again. That's literally an X slash. 2 slashes. Though, well, yeah, no, it's 2 slashes making an X, which is what happens also in the game in the Spamton fight. But well, okay, differently. I don't think you actually make an X shape. You just slash twice, which could make a X, obviously. Anyway, next thing is both of them are traditional JRPG. Oh, not JRPG. Deltarune is not a JRPG, but traditional. Both of them are supposed to follow traditional fantasy RPG tropes of a main character. You know, like think Chrono Trigger, think Final Fantasy. You know, the main character goes to slay the evil antagonist and, I don't know, saves the princess and falls in love. Slays the dragon and falls in love with the princess that he saved. Oh man, my throat from talking so much. Sorry, I'm quite sick. Anyway, next thing. Okay, this is very iffy. It's very iffy, but I mean it's kind of plausible considering Metal game. But remember that every party member from Orsted dies. Well, yeah, every single one dies. One way or another, every single party member dies. The friend, you know, the sage, takes longer than all the rest, but that happens. And that was like the only people that Orsted really put close to him. So you can imagine how he'd feel. And oh, this is the link, like Rousey and Susie dying, you know, Noelle, you know, whoever, who else from the fun game, Lancer, whatever. Well, actually, I don't think Kris cares about Lancer that much, but it's fine. Of course, you know, the RPG thing, main character, fantasy, you have to save someone. Well, this isn't every RPG, but this is it follows these two that I'm talking about from these games. And the antagonist is a dark being. Who else is a dark being in Deltarune who's an antagonist? We have 2 actually, or 3. Friend, Roaring Knight, and Gaster. But for the sake of this theory or, you know, idea, I'm just talking about the Knight because that fits most here right now. It fits more than Gaster does right now. Next, very beautiful, very nice, very professional. As you can see, I'm very good at this YouTube stuff. Very also good at this PowerPoint stuff. So, okay, this is a two-parter. So what could happen? I've made all these links. What does that mean for Kris then? You know, because that's the uncompleted game here, and LiveALive is completed. So, what does that mean for the character who's inspired by this character who has this storyline? And so, like, how would their similar plot go? It's not going to be the exact same, but given there's an inspiration, it's supposed to go in some kind of way that's similar. So some series of events may or may not need to happen. You know, number 1, Kris needs to snap. You know, get to their limit, get to their breaking point. And you can see in the weird route, this is pretty easy. It essentially almost happened already, but we just got like a small bit of it. It's not like they got to fully lash out anyway. And, you know, the bathroom scene. And you know, each chapter, Kris, in the weird route, you know, Kris loses their patience a bit more, and you know, things are gonna get more extreme. Point 2, Susie, or you know, the fun gang members need to die, which, you know, this is a controversial thing in the sense that in the Mantle game, where you have to kill Rousey and Susie to proceed, people have taken that in 1 or 2 ways. Either you actually have to kill them, you know, at some point forcibly to continue, or it's symbolic. You just have to rid of them in your party and play as Kris, maybe with a well, and that's what you have to do to continue in the weird route. Whether or not you want to go with either is fine. I mean, for the sake of the theory, it works better that they die, but I understand if, you know, that's just throwing away the characters to like too easily, too far. I don't know. And no, well, you can have her be as the only person who dies, you know, out of the Fun Gang, out of these three. It works. I mean, she's gonna be used up, and that, I mean, assumingly, if that's even the right word, that means she's gonna die when she's used up. Maybe, I mean, there's something in this theory that's important. You know, Kris being used up wouldn't make it like wouldn't work that they die when they get used up. So you can just say the Noah gets discarded, and or you know, she becomes a husk or something like that. So her usefulness would go away. So I mean, I don't. Her usefulness would go away of being a strong party member. So she may or may not die or have any relevance after that. I think I had a voice crack. Very nice transition. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So this is the second part, and okay, I drink some water. My throat is killing me right now. I'm already sick, so talking for like 10 minutes straight and quite fast also, which if I should probably slow down in the talking, but sorry, this is just me. Anyway, so in the mental game, this section where you find the very death-like enemy, obviously hits not anyone else but the Roaring Knight. That's what it's supposed to be. It follows your movements, and you have to work with it to, continue. And then once you do, you play as the knight, and you float to Kris, and Kris kills it. And I take this, and I don't really hear this very often at all, and if at all, not really. But I take it from this scene that, well, okay, you can take more than one thing from this scene, but from one of the things that I take from this scene that's relevant for here is this is supposed to mean because mental game is foreshadowing for the weird round, that this is supposed to say that there's going to be a Kris solo fight with the knight later on in a weird round, obviously. And this would take the place of the knight rematch that would happen in the prophecy. Actually, no, never mind. I'll get to that later. I would need to address that, like, hey, there's this prophecy panel in the chapter 4 where you have to, the knight rematches the Fun Gang. How is that gonna make sense? Okay. When I explain that, it's gonna be a bit of a stretch, but I'll try. So you fight this chapter. What chapter would this be? Probably not 5. I don't see. There's no place for this to be in 5, most likely. So probably 6. Chapter 6 if it happened in the bunker. You fight the knight, a solo Kris fight. I've been going on this point for too long. So anyway, I explained earlier that that Orsted slayed the Lord of Dark, and he became the Lord of Dark, right? Okay, so what does this mean when you kill the knight? Well, I should also say, yes, this doesn't mean that the knight would die earlier in the story than that they were supposed to be. Well, they're supposed to die, because I do personally believe that the knight would be the final boss of the normal round. I don't think that's a stretch. So she would die earlier on than supposed to, because she's not going to be the final boss in the weird round. So with Orsted becoming the Lord of Dark, after killing the Lord of Dark, what would happen if Kris, kills the Lord of Dark of Deltarune? Okay, well, that's technically Gaster fits that more, but for the sake of this theory, it makes more sense to put this on Noelle, on Des right now, for her to be the Lord of Dark stand-in. So Kris killing the knight. After that, they would become the Roaring Knight. they would become the new Roaring Knight, or the new Lord of Dark. Like how Orsted became the Lord of Dark after killing the antagonist dark being who controls darkness. Yeah. Oh, very nice, very nice. Okay. I kind of have a little, not very detailed, but very brief map of what would happen, how this would go. So, you know, note, like, recall how I said that, you know, the fight for the real Lord of Dark in the mountaintop, and the crystal fight with the Roaring Knight. So, you know, recall those two things, put them together. So after Orsted kills the Lord of Dark, he snaps. You know, because, you know, the princess kills herself. But imagine, okay, there's no princess here in Deltarune for that to be the case. So it would just be that, you know, it's the fact that Des got killed. So Kris killing Des, the Roaring Knight is gone. That would be the stand-in of, you know, the princess killing herself. No, the knight would not kill themselves. No, this is just because there's no princess. So this is just because the person behind the knight is someone that Kris cares about. It works as the stand-in, even though it's not the same situation of, you know, killing monster to protect someone. This is just killing the monster who is also the person you'd want to protect. Whatever. Anyway, I'm talking about this too long. So Kris would snap because they killed Des, and, you know, may or maybe not, they would be a dead Fun Gang member at this point. It depends what you want. It could just be Noel, could just be Susie, could be just Halsey. I doubt, you know, I doubt it would be. Really though, it probably wouldn't be any of those either. Because although the weird red is supposed to be a deviation, well, okay, no, it is, but I don't know, maybe our main character dies. And just the story changes, so that can happen. So, because Kris snaps and they go crazy, and maybe we get another bathroom scene, but worse, in the Dark World even, which would be really cool. You know, the heart being ripped out in the Dark World. Kris basically just cannot take being a vessel anymore. They can't take this player anymore. They can't take this player anymore, this route anymore. So I don't know, you know, they go crazy, they rage, they jump around, they fume, they, you know, crash out. Okay, crash out, that's the word. They crash out so hard, it's just, okay, you can't really control them anymore. This won't be like, they basically give up on the plan, you know? They give up on the plan. They don't work as a vessel to be, you know, sealing the angel's heaven or whatever you wanted, or, you know, to kill more people. It doesn't work anymore. You can't. So, Gaster takes you out of Kris's body and puts you in the discarded vessel. This is really good, you know, place to be putting you in the vessel, in the weird room. The point where Kris would just, you know, be used up, which is at this point because, well, unintentionally kind of, but it's not like you chose that, okay, Kris is now, I don't have use for them anymore. It's just, you know, Kris goes like this, so you have to decide on that spot that, okay, I can't have Kris anymore, so Kris is used up, in a way. So, after you get in the body of this guarded vessel, Kris is gone. Maybe, you know, you're on the ground, the screen is like blurry, you see Kris just walking, limping away, whatever. And, well, you know, you get this introduction to the vessel, they start speaking to you. I mean, okay, this isn't really important, but I'm saying this because, you know, this would happen. You get a vessel introduction, maybe you go around, you kill a few things. At the end of that chapter, which would be 6, you know, I assume, maybe, I mean, yeah, I would say it would have to be the ending of 6. It doesn't have to be, but basically, the point is, what happens is Kris goes I mean, doesn't I mean it goes to the, you can say either dark world or light world, doesn't really matter, but let's just say dark world. It works. They go to somewhere isolated, and they stab themselves. They make a fountain inside their own body. You know, I've had this idea of this happening, like this concept, for like a long time. Like, I mean, I guess just a few months, but I found this point so fascinating that, and people don't really talk about it. But I mean, I guess what can you? It's very fanficky and what would happen. So here I am making the fanfiction of what would happen when you make a dark fountain in your own body or in someone's body. Now, I want to. So this is okay. I need to preface. This is what would make Kris. This would be the exact point that Kris becomes the Lord of Dark in the Deltarune, or they would be okay. I say Lord of Dark, but I mean like Roaring Knight stand-in. This is how they would become the new Roaring Knight, the like how Oyster became the new Lord of Dark. So, and Kris would have powers. Darkness powers. They would have magic swords. I know some control over darkness, whatever. Also, the reason why they survived this in the first place is because they are human, and they have a good amount of determination. If this was like Susie, I don't know, Carol, Noelle, who did this to their own body, they would have died. They would have just turned into smoke. But because Kris is human, they have more natural determination, higher capacity in the first place, what have you. And this is all without a soul, by the way. I had this idea of Kris forming their own soul once they got separated from you, but I mean, I think that's even more fanficky than this. So Kris survives, the soul being in their body. They're gonna, of course, they're gonna like stumble around. There's gonna be a whole thing showing you that they're in pain, from the thing forming in their body, because smoke is pouring out of their mouth, gas, because fountains, they are gas then liquid. How it can be is that gas is leaking out of their chest and their mouth, and then later, I mean, the gas forms into liquid, so you start leaking black water from their mouth and their chest, and then it solidifies, so it stops leaking, and there you go. They survived, and now they have control, some control over darkness, at least some of it, but I would say like a lot, like a Lord of Dark would be. Someone who has control over darkness would be. Oh yeah, and they get magic, so that's something that they've been wanting, but given the circumstances, it's unfortunate, but yeah, they would. I mean, this is done because Kris can't really fight you. I mean, I'm going with the idea that Kris understands that they couldn't beat you in a fight, so they do this off screen. Well, not off screen. They would do this not next to you. The camera would pan to them while they're doing this, in the cutscene. And now they have the power to fight you, and kill you. So, yeah, that's the most basic one. So what, like, what now? For this darkness thing, Kris becomes new Roaring Knight stuff. Well, Hyperlight and Aura. There's a lot of potential for Hyperlight and Aura with this. With Kris's personality, this wouldn't be just like, basic, oh, I'm evil, I'm gonna destroy everything. No. This is just gonna be Roaring Knight 2, but even cooler. Roaring Knight 2, but cooler. It'd be like the same stupid axe stuff, but even more horror-forming than the Roaring Knight so far that we've seen. Yeah, okay, Kris would be the final boss, the weird rat final boss. I mean, this is good justification that there would be, because imagine if you get separated from Kris and this doesn't happen. I mean, how are you gonna justify Kris having enough power to be the final boss? If they weren't, I mean, maybe then you would have to have someone else be the final boss. But I go with this because, you know, it's good standing for Kris being the final boss. But also, I mean, in LiveALive, when Orsted becomes the Lord of Dark, he becomes the final boss. He just is the final boss. So, you know, this Lord of Dark stand-in, Roaring Knight stand-in, they would take the place of the Roaring Knight, being the final boss like they would be in Roam Around. And the same thing in LiveALive, where the person who got enveloped by darkness, they would be the final boss. And this can justify, you know, because Kris would be the new knight, pawn, going from a pawn to a knight, or a squire to a knight, that they would be, you know, the prophecy panel that says that the knight will rematch the Fun Gang. This would be taking place of that. Technically, that prophecy panel would still be true. It's very loose. It's very loose. But you know what? I object, because remember in chapter 2 Weird Route, you don't ride the car with Queen, right? You know, the Queen's his chariot that cannot be stopped. But you don't even ride the car, do you? It happens off screen, technically. I mean, it would happen off screen that the Queen rides the chariot and, you know, goes through the road. So I think the game is up for making very loose connections with the prophecy in the Weird Route. You know, it doesn't exactly fit, but it works, you know. You don't ride the Queen's chariot that cannot be stopped, but it happens off screen, so technically that prophecy panel was fulfilled. So like the rematch would be fulfilled, you know, the prophecy panel. Okay, I don't know why. Okay, this next point that I wrote, I forgot I wrote this point. So Kris would search for Iram, whether or not they would kill him, you know, Tharag Battle Beast style, invincible. They would put Iram as their cape, or, you know, as their clothing, or they would just, you know, take him and you're gonna help me kill the player, whatever. They just get him as an ally, and they get a cool mantle. They get a cool cape that they can Oroform with. They can go full Piccolo. I don't watch Dragon Ball. And bonus points actually if Iram is the Horn Headband, because I was envisioning like, hey, maybe like, you know, this would be like at least a two-phase fight, where first phase you find in the Dark World and the second phase you find in the Light World. So when you go to the Light World, the Shadow Mantle that Kris has, which is Iram, it would be the Horn Headband. So you see Kris with the Horn Headband. I thought it was really cool idea. If you support Kris loses their hand theory, which, I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't, them doing this, they would grow a cool darkness hand. I mean, this was a trend actually, that people would draw Kris with like a dark Roaring Knight hand with a hole in the middle, you know, just Roaring Knight hand. And I mean, I am when I put this here, I am saying this that with the mind like that, maybe Kris wouldn't grow a darkness hand just out of not having a hand. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, I'm saying when Kris loses their hand, I think they're not gonna have a hand in the Dark World. Like, they only have one hand. They're not gonna grow a substitute on the spot. I would think that when they have a fountain in their body, their hand, which is the only thing that they would need to regenerate, they would grow a darkness hand. So that's the explanation for that. It's very cool. It's very aura. They can do the cool pull-in that the Knight did on Toriel, except the light would be red instead of purple. I think that'd be cool. Oh, okay. Yeah, why Kara's even here on this picture here? Makes sense. Like, this is a makes sense explanation of how Kris could pull off the Kara horror face, or the Kara slush face, whatever you want to call it. This is just like, you know, another parallel, you know, to be made with Kris and Kara. And this is like a perfect explanation how it could happen. If Kris would ever do this face, I don't mean, okay, you don't have to specifically think like Kris slashes the screen and does 9 billion damage. I mean, you could, but I mean, that is part of like, okay, no, never mind. But I'm just going with this theory right now. That's not just going to go too fanficky. Actually, this has already been very fanficky, but let's not go off script. So because they have darkness in their body, I would think that they don't have blood anymore. They would just have black sludge in their body. So this would be their blood. And they could pull off his face that Kara pulls off. Okay. There is like one thing about this whole idea that, you know, is unfortunate. I don't have the running for this visualized. I have all this hypermist and aura stuff, you know, envisioned in my head, but I don't know like that I don't know the dialogue. Like, what would be the dialogue? I don't know what would be like the emotional, what have you, like, you know, think Sans in the genocide route, you know, his dialogue in the fight. I don't know like what would be there. I don't know what would be there for Kris. So I'm mostly just putting down this idea. Also, okay, never mind. This is a very bad okay. Okay, so that's the end of the theory. That's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. You should like the video, but you should not subscribe because I make very bad content. So, and I make most of my content for myself and not for people to watch it, other than me. But okay, I'm glad I finally got this video done. This video took too long. No, it just took like a few hours to make this presentation, but it's very stupid and I love it. It's very stupid. I'm glad I got this out before Chapter 5. I mean, I don't think it would really change anything if Chapter 5 came out right now, and honestly, I'd probably just have more fuel for this idea. I mean, if the solo knife fight happened in Chapter 5 or something, I'd just have more evidence, but, you know, I wanted to get this out before Chapter 5 comes out. Yeah, why not? Also, I said in my last theory video that that would be my last video until Chapter 5. That was a lie. But that's fine. Another theory and like me playing as Soul Blazers. Also, you should play LiveALive. It's a very good game. I very much enjoyed it. It's like a 7 to 8 chapter game. Each chapter is an individual story, and they all line up to the 8th chapter. Well, optionally anyway. Wink wink. I don't want to explain that. So Kris is very handsome, very beautiful, very elegant, and everyone should love them. I don't know what to put here. I don't know what to say. I mean, I think there's something I want to add, but I don't know. I don't really remember. Okay, thank you, bye.